That war over with. It's a newer generation. Well, FBG affiliate Pressure, he recently did a vlog where he went back to the hood. You know, he did a vlog in front of the porch where KI was killed.
Everything you think you know about King Von's story just got flipped upside down. Not by a random internet account. Not by a troll. Not by someone with an agenda hiding behind an anonymous page. This came from someone who walked those same streets, breathed that same Chicago air, and has been sitting on this information for years, allegedly waiting for exactly the right moment to detonate it in front of the entire world. And now that moment is here. And nothing about the King Von narrative is ever going to feel the same again. Ask yourself this. If one of the most documented, most referenced, most emotionally charged stories in all of Chicago drill history was built on something that allegedly never happened the way we were told, who benefits from keeping that story alive? Who profits every single time that narrative gets repeated, reposted, streamed, and celebrated? And more importantly, why is KI's own brother, a man who has stayed silent through years of pain, choosing right now to finally open his mouth?
Hey, Aiden, please put me on the card so I can beat the living life out of 1090 Jason.
These rappers be, man, it's 2 times said he don't want to fight because I'm 7 feet tall, 6'1". Boston Rich's team said he don't want to fight because it's real smoke. The only rappers who want to fight is the ones that fight poverty. They say, oh, you can fight King Yella. We'll give you 2 bands and a t-shirt.
King Yella said King Von did not kill KI. He said it out loud, with his full name attached, on a platform where millions of people could hear every single word. And the moment those words hit the internet, the entire foundation of one of drill music's most iconic street stories began to shake. But the Yella claim is only half the story. Because somewhere in Chicago, a man who lost his brother is sitting with information that allegedly changes everything. And what he is reportedly about to reveal is the part that the people controlling this narrative allegedly never wanted you to hear. Do not go anywhere. This is where it starts getting dangerous. To understand the full weight of what King Yella just dropped on the internet, you have to go back to the beginning. And the beginning of this story is not pretty, it is not comfortable, and it is the kind of thing that even the most seasoned followers of Chicago drill history have to sit with for a moment before it fully registers. King Von, born Davon Daquan Bennett on August 9, 1994, in Chicago's Parkway Gardens, the housing project the streets call a block, was one of the most gifted street storytellers rap has ever produced. His music was not just entertainment. It was allegedly autobiography. It was reportedly documentation. When Von rapped about violence, about bodies, about the specific textures of survival on the south side of Chicago, fans did not just hear bars. They heard what they believed was a man narrating his own lived experience with terrifying accuracy and zero remorse. That authenticity is what made him a legend. And that authenticity is now what is being challenged at its very core. The name KI, full name Keithion Tayshawn Murdoch, has been attached to King Von's story since at least 2012. KI was a young man from Chicago whose death became part of the mythology surrounding Von's rise, referenced in interviews, whispered about in comment sections, and treated by a large portion of Von's fanbase as confirmed street history. Von was arrested in connection with KI's death. That is a verifiable fact. Cook County court records confirm that charges were filed. What is equally factual is that those charges were eventually dropped, and Von never stood trial for KI's death. But in the world of drill music, where court outcomes are often treated as separate from street reality, the narrative that Von was responsible persisted, and reportedly, it was a narrative that Von himself never aggressively disputed in public. But here is where it gets interesting. King Yella's claim is not new in the sense that whispers about the true circumstances of KI's death have allegedly been circulating within certain Chicago circles for years. What is new? What makes this moment different from every previous time someone privately questioned the story, is that Yella said it publicly, he said it specifically, and he said it at a time when King Von's legacy is sitting at the center of multiple converging pressures. A civil lawsuit naming his estate, posthumous releases generating tens of millions of streams, and an ongoing public conversation about who owns and controls the O-Block narrative. The timing, according to multiple sources who have been tracking this story, is allegedly not accidental. Yella's statement, which reportedly surfaced in a clip that spread across Instagram, YouTube, and X within hours of being posted, was direct and unambiguous. He allegedly claimed that King Von was not the person who killed KI, that the real circumstances of KI's death were known to specific people within the Chicago drill ecosystem, and that the story had been allowed to persist, and allegedly encouraged to persist, because it served a particular image, a particular brand, a particular mythology that was worth money. That last part is the part that set the internet on fire, because it moved the conversation from street credibility into something colder, something more calculated, something that allegedly involves people making decisions about a dead man's story for financial reasons. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. The clip of Yella's statement reportedly accumulated over 3 million views across combined reposts within the first 48 hours. That number is significant. It means this reached far beyond the core Chicago drill community. It reached casual fans, mainstream hip-hop followers, and people who had no prior context for any of this. And what those new viewers encountered was a claim that, on the surface, sounds almost impossible. That one of the most intimately detailed street narrators in rap history may have been telling a version of events that was, at least in one critical chapter, allegedly not his story to tell.
I don't give about what nobody said about me on the internet. I don't give a, you get on this side out on me, I don't give a suck my. But when you get on the internet and you say something about somebody that's been physically touched and harmed, and there was an actual fight, that is where I draw the line. Aspen, I don't understand why you would get on the internet and lie like I was orchestrating the fight, like I'm the liaison in between the middle of the dropping her low to you. That's not what happened. You said you're going through a lot, Somebody said she come to your house to check on you and all of this. She only come. Well, you told her out your mouth. Yeah, I'm that you gonna fight her, you gonna beat her ass. Somebody said, okay, well, tell her I'm coming to check on her, and if she wanna fight, we can fight, and we gonna just hug it out afterwards. You on the phone asking, I miss her, I miss my friend, I love her, I'm just going through a lot. Somebody, I miss her, that's my friend. Same bullshit.
Within 24 hours of the clip going wide, the reaction split into two camps so quickly and so completely that it looked, according to several commentators who cover this space, almost coordinated. On one side, Von's core fan base, loyalists who rejected Yella's claim as a pure credibility play from a man with documented grievances against O'Block, people who pointed to Von's arrests, his court appearances, his own music as evidence that the narrative was real. On the other side, a growing contingent of listeners, some from Chicago, some from outside it, who began asking questions they had allegedly never thought to ask before. Questions like, if this story was never proven in court, why has it been treated as gospel? Who benefits from a dead man carrying a reputation he may or may not have earned? Now here is the twist. Before anyone had fully processed Yella's statement, before the debate had even reached its peak, a second voice entered the conversation. And this voice was not another rapper. This voice was not another content creator looking to capitalize on the drama. This was, according to sources who were among the first to share the clip, someone with direct, personal, irreplaceable connection to KI. This was allegedly KI's brother. And what he said, in a statement that reportedly began circulating in the same 48-hour window as Yella's initial claim, was not what anyone expected. It was not an endorsement of Yella's version. It was not a denial. It was something far more complicated than either of those things. And it is the reason why this story does not end with Yella's clip. It is the reason this story is just beginning. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because what KI's brother allegedly said did not just challenge the Vaughn narrative. It allegedly challenged the entire framework through which Chicago drill has been allowed to mythologize real deaths, real families, real grief, and turn all of it into content, into streaming revenue, into cultural capital that flows in one direction and never reaches the people who actually pay the price for it. And if what he is reportedly claiming is accurate, then the conversation this community needs to have is not just about King Von. It is about the entire machine that decides whose death becomes legend and whose death becomes collateral. This part ends here. But the story does not. Because KI's brother reportedly said something specific, something with a name attached, a date attached, a location attached, that is either the most important thing said about this situation or the most dangerous. And you need to hear exactly what it was. The moment KI's brother's statement started spreading, the entire energy of the conversation shifted. Because up until that point, this was still, to many observers, a rapper beef. Yella saying something provocative about Von's legacy. That is a familiar pattern in Chicago drill. Artists make claims, fans debate, the internet moves on. But a family member speaking is different. A brother who lost someone and has lived with that loss for over a decade, who watched a specific narrative about his brother's death become entertainment, who sat through interviews and music and fan discussions that treated his family's tragedy as content. That person speaking is not the same as a rapper making a move. That person speaking is, allegedly, a person with nothing to gain and everything to lose by opening their mouth. According to sources who were among the first to share K.I.'s brother's statement, the clip, reportedly under 2 minutes long, filmed in what appeared to be a private setting with no formal production quality, was not scripted. It was not rehearsed. It carried the kind of raw, unpolished emotional weight that is almost impossible to fake. In the clip, which had reportedly reached over 1 million views within 12 hours of initial posting before multiple copies were taken down and re-uploaded across platforms, K.I.'s brother allegedly addressed the Von narrative directly. He allegedly said that the story that has been circulating about who killed his brother, the story that has been treated as Chicago drill canon for years, is not, in his words, the full story. He did not say Von was innocent. He did not clear Von's name. What he allegedly said was more nuanced and in many ways more devastating, that the real details of what happened to K.I. have been deliberately buried, allegedly suppressed by people who had reasons to keep a simpler, cleaner, more mythologically useful version alive. But here is where it gets interesting. The timing of K.I.'s brother's statement, appearing in the same news cycle as Yella's claim, was noted immediately by multiple commentators. The question that started trending in comment sections across platforms was not just what K.I.'s brother said, but whether the two statements were connected. Whether allegedly, there had been some kind of prior communication between Yella and K.I.'s family. Whether this was, as one prominent drill commentary channel reportedly described it, a coordinated truth campaign. Two separate voices saying two separate things at the exact same moment, creating a combined pressure that neither statement could have generated alone. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. If there was coordination, and to be absolutely clear, this has not been confirmed, this is speculation framed as such by multiple sources, then what it suggests is that the challenge to King Von's narrative did not emerge spontaneously. It suggests that people who have allegedly been sitting on information for years looked at the current moment, the lawsuit, the posthumous albums, the estate disputes, the public conversations about O-Block's history, and made a collective decision that right now was the time. That the confluence of legal pressure and public attention created a window that may not open again. And they allegedly walked through it together. Now here is the twist. Because while the internet was digesting both Yella's statement and K.I.'s brother's clip, a third piece of information reportedly began surfacing. And this one came not from a rapper, not from a family member, but from what multiple sources described as a court-adjacent document. A legal filing reference that allegedly appeared in connection with the ongoing civil proceedings tied to King Von's estate and the FBG Duck murder lawsuit. This document, according to sources who claim to have reviewed it, allegedly contained a reference to the circumstances surrounding K.I.'s death. Not in the context of blame, but in the context of how that specific incident had reportedly been used in building the public brand narrative around King Von. If accurate, and this remains, as of the time this script was finalized, unverified, it would mean that the mythology of Von's street credentials was not just organic cultural storytelling. It was allegedly, in some capacity, a deliberate brand construction. And that brand construction allegedly generated specific, traceable financial value. The numbers attached to King Von's posthumous output are not small. His streaming numbers across platforms reportedly surpassed 2 billion total plays in the years following his November 2020 death. His posthumous album What It Means to Be King debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 in March 2022, moving over 80,000 album equivalent units in its first week alone. Brand deals, merchandise, documentary discussions, licensing. The total value of King Von's estate is reportedly estimated in the tens of millions of dollars. When you put those numbers next to the allegation that part of the foundation of his credibility narrative was, allegedly, built on a story that may not be fully accurate, the stakes of this conversation stop being about street credibility and start being about something that has real financial, legal, and human consequences. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because K.I.'s brother did not stop at questioning the narrative. According to multiple people who reportedly watched the full unedited version of his statement, a version that was allegedly longer than the clips that circulated publicly, he went further. He allegedly named a specific detail, a specific element of what happened on the night K.I. died that has never appeared in any public account of the incident. A detail that, according to those who claim to have heard it, would directly contradict the version of events that has been circulating for over a decade. That detail has not been fully confirmed or reproduced in any verified source at the time of this script. But the people who allegedly heard it are reportedly describing it as the kind of thing that, if proven, changes everything. Not just about K.I.'s story. About the specific texture of a narrative that an entire fanbase has built an emotional relationship with. And here is what they allegedly did not want you to find out. The clip of K.I.'s brother's statement was reportedly taken down from its original posting location within hours of going viral. Multiple re-uploads followed, but sources close to the situation claim that there was active effort, by parties unknown but allegedly connected to Von's estate orbit, to limit the spread of the unedited version. Whether that is true, whether it is a coincidence, whether it is simply platform moderation acting in its normal capacity, nobody can say definitively. What can be said is that the full unedited statement is reportedly significantly harder to find than the clipped version, and that the specific detail K.I.'s brother allegedly mentioned in the longer cut is the one piece of this story that the people who have been tracking it most closely are treating as the most explosive element of all. But the door that K.I.'s brother allegedly cracked open is still standing ajar. And what is on the other side of that door is not just a reframing of King Von's story. It is a question about what Chicago drill owes to the real people behind its most celebrated narratives. And that question has an answer. But the answer is the part that nobody in a position of power within this industry is ready to give. There is a concept in Chicago, in the streets, in the community, in the culture that produced drill music, that the people inside it call keeping it real. Keeping it real means honoring the truth of what actually happened, even when the truth is uncomfortable, even when it costs you something, even when the easier path is to let the myth keep rolling because the myth is what pays the bills and keeps the lights on. And the reason this story, Yella's claim, K.I.'s brother's statement, the alleged coordination between them, is hitting as hard as it is hitting right now is because it is forcing the community to ask a question it has been structurally incentivized to avoid. What happens when the myth is not keeping it real at all? King Von built his entire brand on the promise of authenticity. That is not a criticism. It is the opposite. It is what made him one of the most compelling artists Chicago has produced in a generation. His storytelling was precise, specific, and emotionally grounded in a way that separated him from artists who rapped about violence as abstraction. He gave names. He gave locations. He gave you the feeling of standing on the corner where it happened and watching it unfold. And fans responded to that with a level of loyalty and love that has only grown stronger in the years since his death. When you watch the comment sections on Von's music videos, comment sections that reportedly still generate thousands of new posts every single week, you see something that goes beyond fandom. You see people who feel like Von told them the truth about life in a way that nothing else did. But here is where it gets interesting for the last time. Because the question that Yella's claim and K.I.'s brother's statement are both orbiting, without either of them landing directly on it, is not simply whether Von killed K.I. The question is whether the story of Von killing K.I. was allowed to become canonical because it was useful. Because a rapper who has verifiable street credibility, whose reputation carries the weight of real consequence, is worth more, commercially, culturally, algorithmically, than a rapper who is just very good at telling stories. And in an industry that has spent decades commodifying Black death, Black violence, and Black grief from Chicago's South Side, the idea that a specific narrative about a specific death might have been elevated, circulated, and monetized because it served a brand is not a conspiracy theory. It is, allegedly, the most logical explanation for why a story that was never proven in a court of law has been treated for over a decade as irrefutable fact. And this is the part that nobody is talking about. The people who have the most to lose from K.I.'s brother's statement are not just the people managing King Von's estate. They are the entire infrastructure, labels, distributors, content platforms, commentary channels, merchandise operations, that has built financial value on top of the mythology surrounding Von's street credibility. Because if that mythology contains a foundational element that is, allegedly, not fully accurate, then everything built on top of it becomes legally and ethically complicated. Not just the music. The licensing deals. The documentary rights. The brand partnerships. The retrospective think pieces in mainstream publications that cited Vaughn's reported real-life actions as evidence of his authenticity. All of it sits on top of a story that is now being publicly questioned by someone, K.I.'s own brother, who is standing to question it that no rapper, no commentator, and no fan account can match. Now here is the twist that closes the loop. King Yella, in the days following his initial statement, reportedly did not walk anything back. He did not clarify. He did not soften. What he reportedly did instead was go quiet in the same way that people in this story have a pattern of going quiet when the pressure builds. And that silence, according to multiple commentators who have been watching this unfold, was read not as retreat but as confidence. As someone who said what they needed to say and is now letting the information do its own work. The alleged detail that K.I.'s brother introduced, the specific element of that night's events that contradicts the canonical story, is reportedly being investigated by at least one journalist with connections to Chicago's legal community. Whether that investigation produces anything verifiable, whether it reaches a public audience, whether the people who allegedly want it buried are able to keep it buried, those are the questions that are sitting unanswered right now. Stay right here because it gets worse. Because there is one more dimension to this story that has received almost no mainstream coverage, and that sources close to multiple parties in this situation are reportedly treating as the most significant detail of all. And that detail involves not what happened to K.I., but what allegedly happened in the period after Vaughn was charged and before those charges were dropped. Specifically, who allegedly provided testimony, who allegedly refused to provide testimony, and how the decision to drop the charges was, according to sources, connected to pressures that had nothing to do with evidence and everything to do with the social geography of O'Block and the code of silence that governed it. If that account is accurate, and again it has not been independently verified, then the dropping of charges against Vaughn was not simply a legal outcome. It was, allegedly, the product of a community-level decision about who would and would not speak. And the implications of that, for the people who made that decision, for the families on both sides, and for the narrative that emerged from it, are exactly as serious as they sound. And here is what they allegedly did not want you to find out. Sources who have been following this situation since before Yella's clip went public reportedly claim that K.I.'s brother had, in the months prior to his statement going viral, made at least 2 attempts to have a private conversation with people connected to Vaughn's estate. Not a public confrontation. Not a social media post. A private conversation, reportedly seeking acknowledgement, not legal action, not money, just acknowledgement, of what his family has lived with for over a decade. Those attempts, according to these sources, were allegedly ignored. No response. No callback. No acknowledgement that a brother, a mother, a family was still carrying the weight of something that the other side had packaged into an album rollout and a brand deal. And when private acknowledgement was allegedly denied, public speech was reportedly what remained. That is, according to sources, the full context behind why K.I.'s brother's statement exists at all. Not revenge. Not a coordinated hit. Allegedly, just a man who ran out of private options and decided that the world deserved to know what his family has been carrying alone. The story is not over. It is barely started. And the people who are most comfortable right now are the ones who are still hoping that between the algorithms and the attention spans and the next trending topic, this gets buried before it reaches the audience that would actually do something with it. But it will not be buried. Because the comment sections are already alive. Because the reposts are already stacking. Because somewhere in Chicago, a family is watching this video and waiting to see if anyone is finally paying attention. So here is where we leave you. And this is the part that is supposed to be the wrap-up, the summary, the clean bow on the package. But there is no clean bow here. Because there are at least 3 questions that this story has raised that nobody, not Yella, not K.I.'s brother, not the estate, not the labels, has answered. First, if the full unedited version of K.I.'s brother's statement contains the specific detail that sources are describing as game-changing, where is that full version? And why is it allegedly so much harder to find than the clipped version that has been circulating? Second, the alleged attempts by K.I.'s family to have a private conversation with Vaughn's estate. If those attempts were real, if they were ignored, does that change how you evaluate everything that came after? And third, the one that is going to sit with you the longest. If King Vaughn himself were alive right now, watching all of this unfold, watching the machinery of his own mythology grind forward while a real family's real grief gets pulled into the gears of it, what do you think you would do? You know his music better than most. You have heard how he talked about loyalty, about truth, about the weight of things that cannot be undone. So you tell me, if this video gave you something to think about, and I believe it did, hit that like button right now. Not because the algorithm needs it, though it does. Hit it because KI's family has been carrying this story for over a decade, and the least this community can do is make sure the conversation does not stop here. Subscribe because this story has more chapters coming, and you are going to want to be here when they drop. And leave one answer in the comments. Just one. Do you believe King Yella is telling the truth? Or is this the most dangerous piece of misinformation to enter the Vaughn narrative since the day he died? No middle ground. Pick a side. And tell me why. Because in Chicago, every story has two versions. The one that gets told, and the one that gets lived.